Reporting is not. Today, committee, reporting and spending.
Spending is not.
Yeah. There's no way you can escape this thing. Okay, now, auditor, all this is available with you, so I'm not getting into the details. Now, let me just quickly, all this, I've given you the numbers also. So, obligation, there's a thin line which is running, which is, there's something called quid pro quo. Something in, huge quid pro quo. Huge quid pro quo. Come to me, I'll give you the, no. So, the whole tracking happened, and it was found that new power received from two people. One is from Videocon, another is from SR. Both the money have hit prior or just after the disbursement of loans. So that is where everything got, it stopped there. The buck stopped there, and the board realized that yes, and then she would have also admitted offline. Now I have one more question before I want to ask you. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, so these are all some of the things which is disturbing the obligation part of compliance, which is mortality of morality. That itself is at stake actually today if you really look at it, because it's dying. It's dying every day. I mean, whether it is ILFS, Ravi Parsarthi, whether it is Chandra Kochar, whether it is the Nissan CEO, nothing is stopping. It's only becoming bad by the day. So now, okay, another thing I want to tell you is lobbying. Now again, there are other cases which I can't give you the names, which is, if you're caught, then people say that no, it's a lobbying money. But for a moment we are not understanding, what we are not understanding is, both are the same. Lobbying is a US concept, writing is a India concept. But both means it's getting into the wrong hands, your company's money. Okay, now, let me just quickly wrap it up by telling you, do you think Chandra Kochar failed to perform her obligation? So the answer to that is no. Why? Because she had given this MVP one, not the spirit, only the letter. She had given this MVP one, and there she had stated that this character is my spouse. Now, the tracking never happened saying that this spouse of mine actually has a company called New Power, and that New Power has received something from intercorporate deposit from Videocon. That tracking was not available in front of the board from a law perspective. Yeah, what she should have disclosed, I come to that. Do you think the board failed? No, because as I told you, it's a track. So basically I was informed this much, and this is what I gave up. Based on the papers that were presented to me, I found that she was not guilty. This is the first level of arguments. Do you think Chandra Kochar failed to act responsibly? Now, the answer is yes, because by not disclosing our interest in the contract, this is the next level. Obligation is letter. Second level is going to that spirit part of it, which is, it is only she who could have come to the board and said, I am interested. Why I am interested? Indirectly. Because the words used are directly or indirectly. So, I may not have received something directly into my account, but indirectly somebody has received on my behalf, qualifies her to be out. Next is, do you think the board failed to act responsibly? This is a disaster, I tell you. Because the board which received a complaint in 2014, that is this whistleblower had returned to Narendra Modi, directly to the PM office. Now these guys appointed some Cyril Amachar Mangala, whatever law firm gave a clean sheet, and based on the clean sheet they said no, nothing is wrong. Same Infosys story. Please understand, all corporates actually trade on the same thing, which is based on a legal opinion, whatever, we take a decision or we take a call that this is not done. Agree. First level. Second, again in 2016. See, if first time something is not right, agree. Second time, no. It's the same story. If you track ILFS, there is a lady, Suchita Dalal. 2010 onwards, she is writing to the PMOs, to the board, that there is something wrong in this company, there is something wrong in this company, and if the board is not to wake up, I mean, this is called sleeping board, so you can't help it. And the third one, of course, is whether she failed to discharge her duty. Now, when the duty comes, it's very simple. The CEO was a duty to protect the interest of stakeholders. Stakeholders is a huge definition, by definition, the shareholders, etc. etc. Now, For a moment, if the conscience, the karma yogi which I said, no, that for a moment if the lady had a conscience and said, no, by doing this, this can go wrong, let me go and admit, I think it would have made a word of good. Now, before I conclude, why did she not do it? Everything is Wells Fargo case. Same as Wells Fargo case, right? See, every case you can actually interlink and then get your answers. Any idea? Simple. If our lady was sacked, her entire bonus would be at stake. You cannot encash. Same thing which happened in Wells Fargo. So what the boards do is, they soften the whole thing and allow her to resign. Now by resigning, you have the whole booty that you are carrying and getting into the system. So understand, between resignation and sacking, this is a big difference. Benny Bansal doesn't get a shilling. Chanda Kochar gets the complete. Okay. So, okay, I had a business act actually. This should be the way that we move forward. All this is fine. Malaysia, Indonesia, or for that matter, Singapore, they all have double standards, not in anything else, and dealing with the SMEs. Now, SME, MSME, way forward should be very simple. Ask them to file only 2 forms, annual forms. They don't file, freeze their accounts. That's all. Automatically within the 60th day, every entrepreneur will file. Complete responsibility shifted to the institution of chartered accountants or whatever to take it. Now, so what I'm saying is your obligation is the moral idea of dharma, okay, which is for every decision consider the moral consequences. Then in the midst of brutal and bloody conflict inside boardrooms, do not hesitate to exercise your responsibility. And in the battle of dharma and adharma, do your duty and find a just war. So I wanted to conclude it on the note because this is what happens inside. It's a conflict between you and like they say, drop your mind or you are the mind. So how you exercise this is up to you. Now another 2 minutes. You have any questions on this? And I'll be to take 2 minutes, maybe. Yeah.
Something called the related party transaction. So Chanda Kochar have been upfront and said that my husband is
Exactly. So that is what I had put it across. No? From a responsibility point of view. See, understand, going by the paperwork, yes, even the AS18, now which is IAS 24, which deals with related party, would not have thrown up. Because unless you tell them that this is what is the, transaction, how will somebody record it?
I agree with that. So, all I'm just trying to understand more from you is, my personal view is that maybe it was not deliberately done, but the net effect is still the same.
Again, it's a perception. Deliberate is a perception because 100% she, where she was getting it.
I didn't want
Offline, I'll tell you where that money went also.
Okay.
Okay? You need to go up the ladder. You're governed by Ministry of Finance. Okay, stop. So that's how the whole tracking actually happened and that's where it went. Yeah. Anybody else?
You said that if you don't get the sitting fee, then your obligations
No consideration, no contract.
Okay.
Which means if you don't take anything from the company, then I am not liable. Is one way of looking at a legal obligation. But again, the spirit thing is the moral obligation.
Yeah, that's there.
The moment you get appointed, moral obligation kicks in. You cannot only take cover under the legal obligation. Simple. Yeah? So if you are done, then I thank you for your patient listening and then I hand over the session to Krishna. Okay, for those of you who may not know who Krishna Mysore is, I mean, it's my duty to know because he keeps saying Arun is so okay, Prasanna is part of the executive council of IOD. That is just one face. He is the most reputed lawyer in town. Most reputed. and he's the most sought after arbitrator. If you have a problem, we go to him. He's a good mediator actually. So he is handling quite a bit of transactions I personally know, and that is Mr. Now for you very briefly, because and he runs a lovely initiative which is called an LRT, which is Lawyers Roundtable. And I got him very late, only during the 20s or whatever. Now today I think it's touching 56th or whatever, which is every month on a fixed day. I think most of you should try and be there. Lawyers Roundtable is not only for lawyers. It is for everybody. In fact, what I keep saying is you got to be a lawyer first. Then you do whatever you want, Because that's how useful that particular session is. So you can always write to him and then he will write you back where it is. So that is Prasanna Mysore. So, he's a celebrity in man. Yeah, thank you.
Don't believe you.
I have said the truth and nothing but the truth. Don't believe him, but trust him.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As I mentioned in the very beginning, we have a panel discussion, and the theme of the discussion is our directors mere placeholders. And to address this issue, I have put together a panel, and I have requested Sundaresan also to be on the panel simply because whatever he has said so far, it sort of folds into the panel discussion, and he could actually sort of comment further or elaborate further on some of the aspects that he actually covered in his presentation. So I have 4 panelists right now, and I've got Mrs. Vidya Rajaram. Vidya, can you please come on? She's a partner with Grant Thornton, and I have Mr. Saravanan Masi, please. He's an HR professional, and please join the panel. And Mr. Arun Balakrishnan, and of course, our Guru, Mr. Sundaresan. Please join us on the panel. As I mentioned to you, this panel discussion is not a dialogue between me and the panelists. It is more a dialogue between you and the panelists. And please feel free to ask a question. If you are making a comment, try to keep it brief because we are operating under a time constraint. So let me get the process rolling. All of you sitting on the dais, I have made a statement that directors have become mere placeholders for the simple reason that there is a perception among the general public that directors are simply meeting a certain periodicity and then really are not taking care of the consequences which are really affected by their decisions. I just want to understand, is there a perception that boards have become more pro-corporate, that means more with the management, than pro-governance? And I would like to have your initial impressions on that. Vidya, will you start? Yeah.
So I think, thank you for some. Thanks for all my panel members. I'll keep it short. I'm not known for long speeches anyway. To me, the answer is unequivocally, unambiguously yes. I think there's really no question in my mind. I mean, I have seen multiple cases of misgovernance which the board should have known. And to the point on Chanda Kochar, it's not a matter of disclosure. Board members are senior people, they're intelligent people. You appoint them because they have some intelligence. They're not stupid. You don't want stupid people on your board. I'm yet to see a company which says, let's put a 5-year-old who's stupid and can't read English, let them put on the board. It's very easy today. There is so much information in the public domain. It is so easy to find out if my husband is getting a loan from the same company where I'm the CEO of. It's not that difficult. It takes one click of a mouse. And if anyone thinks they need more than one click, then you're doing the wrong thing. You just need google.com. Seriously. So to me, it's a case of, and I see it every day in boards, the response is ignorance. I think it's either they have to come up with a better excuse, it's like the dog ate the homework, it's really old. So come up with a better excuse or stop giving the excuse.
So Arun, that sort of compels me to ask the question. You have heard what we just said. Is it because directors who actually take a seat on the board actually lack either the confidence or the knowledge base or the kind of integrity to be able to question the management and simply go with the management? Is that the reason why managements get away with some of their ludicrous decisions?
So the answer is yes and no. Because there are companies and companies, there are directors and directors, and there are promoters and promoters, and certain combinations makes it very difficult for a independent director. When we talk about independent directors, I'm assuming the functional directors will almost show the management line. Sometimes it becomes very difficult for an independent director to fight against the promoter or the management, or management is actually a promoter. So in family promoter-driven companies,
Let me keep it up. Little closer.
yeah.
Little closer. Yeah.
So in family promoter companies, where the founder is still there, sitting on the board or formally sitting on the board, sometimes it is a tough task to differentiate what is right and what is wrong as far as the director is concerned. Because here is a man, and I am telling a real life story in which I was involved. Here is a man from 0 to came to 100 in a period of probably 25 years, and then started making decisions, all for a good intent, because he wanted to do something good for the country. Okay? So he started taking decisions which was not very conducive or for the shareholder. Now, what do as an independent director we do? So I used to say, look here, dear Mr. Promoter, your vision is so far, and unfortunately your cash flows can't catch up with your vision. So please make sure that you listen to your finance man, because we all know what you say is required, but it costs money, but the return will take 10 years to come. And it's a huge amount you're spending, which you really can't afford. You're borrowing and spending it. Okay. Now, it is very difficult to find its fault to the vision of this particular person who is doing a grand thing for the country, and he says so. But the shareholder is going to suffer for the simple reason there will be no difference for the next 5 years at least if such a thing happens. It is one more.
Mr. Vasan, somewhere the problem lies, right? And it's a matter of how you actually choose your directors. You can have your golf buddies sitting next to you who are happy to go along with you. Or you can have very serious directors who are going to question at every step what you are doing for the company. So my question to you is, since you are an HR professional, is there a lack of selection process, is there a lack of onboarding that has resulted in these kind of compromises that happen at the board level?
So I like to take it this in two parts. Yeah. So one, there could be competence, and then there could be a proper board members. It takes back to our into mythology of the quote when I think they were playing the dice, and then people were looking at them, right? There were a lot of other board members that we have to call, and then they were not doing the duty. maybe they are obliged for somebody else. So all that obligation, responsibility and duty that is very beautifully tied in that particular one scene of the Mahabharata. So people have not exercised their grit in terms of doing the duty to object to the ethics and values. Yeah, so something is very important is apart from the competence, the grit is very important in terms of when you are in the board. Two, like how we do onboarding for the normal employees, right, who are obligated to the organizational outcomes. I think if you look at it, the board members also are obligated to, the outcomes that are, required to, for the organization. So they also require proper onboarding, which means that they need to understand, the leadership, and then the finances, and then they need to understand the markets, though they may be competent in terms of, the industry and SME, but they need to understand the company at a larger level, because that's where they'll be able to understand and then ask the right question, right? So I think the onboarding thing is really very important, and then there should be a maybe like say a walkthrough of different functions, the leaders. They should be able to understand who are the leaders who are running this company, apart from the other board members who are here. I think it is really important that there should be a proper onboarding for the directors. It's two-way, right? I understand the director and the director understands the company.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to my team, which is a director, a mere placeholder. And I'm going to ask you a question. If you are, or somebody here in the audience is being approached to become a director, how does that person actually determine that he's not going to be a placeholder? He's not going to be a mere placeholder. How does he determine that?
Okay. See, first and foremost is to know where you are getting into. So for that, if I was I can just speak on myself, which is get into a dialogue with the CEO first, understand what that CEO wants. Then the second meeting should be with your peers, which is people who are already on board. Find out how the whole thing shapes up as far as the execution of decisions are concerned, because today I'm not bothered about the procedural aspect of it. Yeah, as much I would love to speak on that, but when I'm getting on board, I'm very clear the quality of decisions that get executed into the board and implementation of those decisions. This is very critical for anybody who is going to enter. So after this first two dialogues with CEO and the other team, I think I'll finally get a knowledge whether these people are running the company and I will be able to fit into the system where I am looking forward to contributing something, and whether my decisions will actually play any importance as far as the company's growth is concerned. So what is very important from my perspective is this issue of implementation of decisions which are taken at the meeting, and whether there is enough respect given from a dissent, assent, all those things, and the expression of a director is concerned, which I think after these two meetings I can make out. I have to make out, and then I enter the system.
But yeah, you know that there is a legal requirement that there should be a woman director on the board. Let's look at a hypothetical situation that you are being approached to actually hold that place. Many people feel that law requires a company to have a woman director, and therefore it is a woman director, and therefore it's a placeholder. So would you actually ask somebody who wants you to be on the board, why me? What is it? How do you actually make yourself comfortable to make sure that you are not a placeholder?
So I think the first thing I would do is search the internet. Right? Maybe I'm from that generation, but it looks like I'm not, because there are people who are much younger than me, who can do it faster, quicker, and better. So the first is, I think, to get diligence first on the company and the board of directors, and you'll find tremendous amount of information, like ultimate beneficial ownership, you will get that. You'll know if they've had any violations of money laundering, if them or their family or anyone else, if their promoter company, their names are mentioned in the Paradise Papers. You've heard of the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers equally. There is multiple websites, journalism, investigative journalism is now all the rage. As much as independent directors may like to think that's the new profession, but the profession now is investigative journalism, and all of that information is open source. So first I would do a lot of research itself on the company, the boards, the CEOs, other board members. Are they also board members in companies where there's at least a woman independent director who's not a family member? Because many times you see their family members who become independent directors simply because they just need to meet that, check the box. So if there are other board members who are on other companies, and the company itself, the company's website, it has a diversity policy, they have a head of HR, how many female employees they have, what kind of workplace, work environment they have, and is it just playing lip service to diversity? And is it, not diversity just because I'm a woman, but because there is also a level of competency I can bring in, whether it is in terms of governance, accounting, compliance. That plays a role much more than you want me just because I'm a woman. Then I'll be treated just because I'm a woman. It doesn't matter, she'll say whatever, she'll agree to whatever the rest of the men on the board will say. If that's the attitude, they have the wrong woman in me. That's the wrong person in me to do that. So that is a major criteria also.
Thank you. Arun, more often than not, composition of the board is seen more like a number game rather than really a game of determining the kind of competency you want on the board. In your experience, have you seen such a thing happening where the board is simply filled up with people without really giving so much of attention to the competence that those people bring in to make the board really function?
My experience is limited. In the last 15 years, I've been put together on the board of about 14, 15 companies. The quality of directors have always been very good. And even the issue of the woman director, which is now statutory in a listed company, you will be surprised that almost all the women directors in the company which I am associated with are very people who really voice their opinion. Okay. They may not have an experience, full knowledge about the Companies Act or the SEBI Act, but they speak from their conscience, from the heart on these things. And they're very vocal about it, and for good reason. I think I'm very happy about it, because diversity, especially gender diversity, is the key. To answer your question directly, I would say that the majority of the directors, my fellow directors in various companies, are well qualified, are very clear in their mind which company they have joined, because they are not just accepted the board membership of a company for the fun of it, or only for getting the sitting fee. Probably that may have been a part of the decision-making criteria, but they pick the company, like all of us do, so that these companies are good companies and they can do something positive. Okay. I always say, if I were to join Reliance Industries as a director, can I tell the owner, look, it is not correct? Okay. So I would hesitate to join companies like that. Okay. I would rather join companies where my voice is there, and the people whom I know are generally of that category. Probably, I'm sure there are exceptions, but they are not very glaring exceptions.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I have a different opinion.
Thank you.
Because after analyzing a lot of these companies and looking at their board composition, actually we are nowhere near international standard. Let me put it, because a company which is diverse, which has international operation, you will not even find a non-Indian. If I may say white. Okay. Very few companies actually do that. Either out of compulsion, they will have only one person who is from outside the borders or whatever, but otherwise majority will be Indians. So where I'm coming from is when you talk about the diversity and all that, there's a lot of these issues inside the boardroom, which is more to do, frankly, gender is the least of the problem today. Today you have wise versus wisdom, which is do I choose a very elderly person for the wisdom, or do I take somebody young for his being wise or her being wise? Okay, that is the biggest challenge today. I mean, again, getting along inside the board with a 82-year-old independent director, there's somebody struggling at 40. I mean, there are boards where this issue is there, which is there's at least 5 generation gap. It's not 1 generation, it's 5 generations, So where I'm coming from is on the composition. No, we are not not maybe about 5 companies in the country you can boast of which has a good composition and which is mixed composition, which is good compared to international system. But otherwise, even the listed companies, they are nowhere near this right composition as far as I'm concerned.
So as I'm coming to the manner of selection of directors, I'm coming back to, since you're HR professional, you have a worldly view on this. We have the Remuneration and Appointments Committee at the end of the day, which is also charged with the duty of screening potential directors and then making sure that those directors not only meet the qualification but also meet the kind of functional criteria that we are looking at. So, what kind of process you would actually put in to make sure that the director that you are looking at actually fits into a particular board? What are the parameters that you really look at?
So what I would like to do is first taking cue from what Sundaresh said, wisdom and then wise. Right? So I would like to go with somebody who is wise and then who could actually question the board. Right? So that is something which
you don't know that at that time. You are simply looking at a candidate.
Right. So that's why one of my priorities that I would So I would like to have something value added to the organization. So that is my view. So what I would like to do is actually do a pre-onboarding, right? Maybe an opportunity for that person to be, a couple of meetings that we have, right? And then see the type of, questions that, they would ask. Right? Maybe let's sort of, try run or pilot run or what, right? So wherein it's a two-way, right? I also understand whether I fit the organization and then will I be able to add value, and the organization also will have an opportunity to evaluate whether this person will really be able to add value to my organization or not. So it's a win-win situation. So I would look at this as an opportunity to evaluate, because the competencies and the experience and everything is on the paper, and then it's all available on in the public domain today, right? Like she said that it's today in social media and other, everything is available on the people and what they have done. But what is important for me is, as a director, will this person be able to challenge me, right? So that I think will be able to know if I do not have an opportunity, or if he does not have an opportunity to do this test drive. Like even if you have to buy a car, we do a test drive, right? I think I would opt for this opportunity to see whether both of us fit each other.
When you asked remuneration stuff, recently I got a call, and the mandate was simple: 25 lakhs is the budget. Get me an independent director. I mean, imagine a company setting a budget. So it's, for him also it's such a difficult thing being an HR to source somebody. So it's whether you're going to get the right person for the right job or for the right money. So budget plays a very important role when you talk about the remuneration part and all that, because today we are in a challenging world. So there again, he spoke about wise and the wisdom, right? So at 25 lakhs, my choice is, do I get somebody wise or do I get somebody who has wisdom? So it's a challenge. So remuneration plays a very important role when you come to choosing an independent director.
I think
take it.
Asking the mic, I guess we have to. But I think the issue is, that today I don't see boards. There's a remuneration committee, a nomination committee, but they don't undertake a selection process. The person is already predetermined, either because they're on boards, he's on the board of 10 other companies, you can name the company, it doesn't matter. We're in the same industry or close to it, let's get that person. So why do you have to do a check on that person? Because we know that person. Mr. or Mrs. or whoever this is very famous. They've had a stint in government, they've had a stint in industry, they've had a stint in, public life, civic life. We do not undertake a check because we assume that the person comes with an element of credibility because they've been, and no one wants to bell the cat. No one's going to ask, I'm being very, controversial here. No one's going to ask here if tomorrow if Mr. Sundareshan's name is proposed, how many of you will say, well, let's do a check on Mr. Sundareshan? I think you should, and I'm sure Mr. Sundareshan will say you should, because, you have to do your homework. But we won't. We'll say, well, why would we want to do a check on him? He's on the board of 10 different companies. We're going to be the 11th.
While you hold the mic, let me ask you another question. We are all aware of number of committees that the board has. There will be audit committee, remuneration committee, shareholder grievance committee, any committee that you can have. There is increasingly a perception that these committees are mere compliance with the legal provisions, but not really vehicles of governance. Would you like to comment on that?
No, I think that goes back to my first point I made, right? That the committees have become real, just rubber stamp, checking the box. To some extent, there is some, I don't want to say merit, but there is some leeway because of the regulatory provisions. Mr. Sundareshan had so many provisions. There's so many requirements that it's really difficult to keep track. And everyone is so scared of documentation and getting it right. Even if the contents are wrong. That's the sad part. The content is wrong, but you file the form correctly. It doesn't even matter because you file a wrong form. They're more worried about filing the wrong form on time than filing the right form late. So I don't know what is the purpose of the regulation, right? So the purpose of the regulation should be you file it right, file it once. It's okay if it's 4 days late. But no, it's 30th, we have to file. So the financial statements, the biggest example is the financial statements. They're adopted by the board, theoretically prepared by management, adopted by the board, signed by the auditors, then filed. But we always find this inter-reliance. So when there is an issue of a misstatement, a financial irregularity, the financial statement was wrong, the board says, well, we relied on the auditor. What was the auditor doing? The auditor says, well, we relied on you, you adopted the accounts first. What came first? You have to adopt the accounts, only then I can sign because it's your accounts, it's not my accounts. But the board says, how are we supposed to know? We thought you audited and you told us everything was fine. The auditor then the company says, well, where is the CFO? CFO says, well, I was looking at the auditor, but the accounting standards are so complex that I can't understand. Hedge accounting, lease accounting, accounting for loans, accounting for leases, foreign currency, and they're all so complicated. IAS and IFRS, it's an alphabet soup. Then you've got the NFRA, IBC, whatever, you can come up with your own alphabet. Nobody understands. Because we're also focused on the documentation aspect rather than the content. And it is very difficult to actually understand, and I think because of this pressure on time, again, you get the board presentation. I don't know if it even makes sense. Presentations which the board gets, do they even make sense? If they don't make sense, we should say let's not have the board meeting. But the meeting is scheduled, the agenda is sent, everyone's calendar is done, everyone's traveling. You say let's do the meeting.
Arun, I could see as some kind of a difference in approach. But before you actually in a way supplement or react to what we just said, I also want to sort of put an overlay of a question in the sense that the audit committee chairman typically comes and briefs the board about the proceedings, particularly in the context of a quarterly or a half-yearly financial statement. And the board then accepts the statement and then believes that the audit committee has done its job and typically okays it. But do you think that that doesn't demonstrate the engagement of the larger board before it actually approves the financial statement? In addition to what you want to add to what Vidya said.
No, let's just stick to the audit committee because that is one of the most important committees
Yeah.
in the board. The audit committee empowers the stat auditor, and the internal audit also reports to the audit committee. Okay. Now, let's talk about the stat auditor, statutory auditor. Okay. Have anyone of you seen a recent report of a statutory auditor or the quarterly accounts or the annual accounts? The first 2 pages are disclaimers. I'm not responsible for this, I'm not responsible for that. The management has told me this and I have actioned this. I mean, this is what it is. Okay. So, sometimes I think looking at a stat audit report, which essentially forms part of filing your annual returns or quarterly returns, there is a little question mark, and I agree with what you have said. Okay. But let's talk about the responsibility of the audit committee. I'm on many audit committees, I'm a chairman of some companies of the audit committee. So my best friend in the board is the internal audit. Okay, because internal audit, again, we make sure that the internal audit, it can be an internal audit or external internal audit, or combination of both. We make sure that the audit, we first define what the auditor's program for the year is. And every quarter we listen to it. And when we listen to it, it's not only during that quarterly board meeting or audit committee meeting. There are a whole lot of extra audit committee meetings which take place where you spend a lot of time discussing with the internal auditor the processes. Okay. Whether it is a robust enough process the company has or not. And it is the internal auditor who always picks up a little bit here and there what is not right. Okay. So it is a duty of the audit committee, the chairman of the audit committee, the members of the audit committee, to take it forward on that. And in most of the companies which I am associated with, it is a public sector company or a private sector company, we tick on that and then we question the statutory auditor, how come you didn't notice it? So what a statutory auditor normally does is that he gets hold of the internal audit report and picks on that instead. Okay. So as a audit committee, we challenge both of these things. And then we challenge the management on that. Then we challenge the finance director or CFO on that, saying that, look here, there is a doubt on the robustness of your processes. All that is shown here, is it correct or not? Because when we sit on the audit committee, we can't make out where there is a little fiddling. Because those of you who are good at finance, related with finance, they know the kind of assumptions that make up your balance sheet or P&L or your income statement. Okay. There are a lot of assumptions there. So there is a little leeway you need to give there, but otherwise I think as a committee, you can do a lot of things and someone can do a lot of things. Okay. After that, you come to the board. Now the audit committee consists of people who have some fair knowledge about finance, accounting. Okay. Whereas the rest of the board members may not be. There will be other specialities. Okay. There will be a good marketing man or a good technology guy. And the board is made of a variety of people. So when we present to the board, I explained to the chairman of the board, saying that we have gone through this process. These were the areas that we found. We are yet to get the next committee meeting. They will come back on that. But we are satisfied that for the current quarter, you will go ahead with the publication of this report, of the quarterly accounts or half-yearly accounts or whatever. So the role of the committee is very, very important. I talked about the audit committee, we talked about the NRC, what is that? NRC or forget the CSR committee, but every other committee, we are very, very clear on what it is. When we reckon to even now CSR has become very important because, like for example, the CSR budget of ONGC is something like a few hundred crores, 500-600 crores. So that is rather than the turnover of any companies. How you spend it, there is a responsibility for that. So that is also checked. And we are today saying that even the expenditure of CSR should be audited. So that is the kind of detail the committee is going. lower sitting fees, maybe a lakh rupees at best, but there's a lot of responsibility and also an honor when you're sitting there. You don't like later somebody to say, look at this guy was saying it for other.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to add something? Okay.
No. See, all this is nice from an insider perspective, right? From an outsider perspective, let me tell you. Typically, our legislation is what is mandated is not there, and what is there is not mandated. Actually, where I am coming from is, world over you will find the importance is given to risk committee. Our country, risk committee is not mandated. Now, ILFS is a classic case. If you see two findings out of that, risk committee of ILFS did not meet. Second one is, audit committee of ILFS met 5 times, but only 2 directors met for the 5 times. Are we clear how the conversation is? No, this is what I picked up from the reportings, and of course, I don't know, then maybe I already checked his answer also. Understand, I went out to check, was there a requirement to constitute a risk committee for ILFS? No. If you really look at law, it's not. But because it's an infrastructure company, there was a requirement to constitute a risk committee. So did the company constitute? Yes. But did the committee meet? No. Now the second point which I want you to observe here is, audit committee does a post-mortem, whereas risk committee is always looking forward. So what we actually need is a risk committee and less of an audit committee. Whereas how the boards play out is, or how the legislator, I wouldn't blame the boards, because the regulators have said audit committee is mandatory. So from Arun's perspective, he has to first discuss 3/4 of the day post-mortem, which is already done, which is waste of time, and take it about 25% to look forward. Now that's where the rush up happens, right? Saying that, okay, tell us what's the issue. So the clumping of this audit and risk into audit committee has not done any good as far as the system is concerned. So committee-wise, please understand there is a big difference between an audit committee and a risk committee. I for one would say, other than audit committee, NRC committee, CSR and stakeholder grievance, I think risk committee is something which should become mandatory for all the at least listed companies and large listed unlisted companies.
Vidya, you wanted to add something? Certainly.
I think I'm going to disagree with Mr. Sundaresh. Only because I think we have enough committees already on the board and we know they're not doing their job. So I'm not sure what one more committee will do other than adding to another meeting and another director sitting fees. Clearly the existing committees, it's a matter of the circle, right? It's the missing chair. The music stops. Everyone's scared and runs to the door. What's left? Other than the CEO and the promoter. I actually feel very sorry for the CEO and the promoters. Not for the directors, because I think they've taken all this on willingly. At one point in time, it was a badge of honor, right? You wanted to be an independent director in these 10 companies. And there were these poster childs of whether retail, fashion, textile, consumer goods, India shining story. There was a rush to be an independent director. But when you then find out that there is a misappropriation, conflict of interest, issues of misgovernance, the director just quits. They collected the check, they quit, and then they say, well, I didn't attend the meeting, I didn't have the knowledge, I'm a tech person, I didn't know how you sold slippers to, how you sold, crops to farmers. But then why did you get on the board if you're a tech person? They were happy as long as the money was coming. So I think creating another committee really for me doesn't do anything. And I think despite the fact which auditors receive and continue to receive to this day, I think it's easy to, I think it's fashionable maybe. I think now I'm glad the tide has turned, but it was very fashionable for the auditors to be the whipping boys, right? There are the scapegoats for everything. The carpet's red and not blue, well, let's blame the auditor. Yeah. So it was kind of gone to that level of ridiculousness. But if you look at, and I'll just give you one example, the auditors have a difficult job and they get paid for it. I'm not in any way sympathetic to the position of the auditors. But you look at what happened at Fortis. Fortis is a listed company. Deloitte were the statutory auditors. And they reported in one quarter, I mean, it's a fascinating story which would have never played out this way but for in India, right? Which is fine. It's not like it's right or wrong, but if you look at Fortis, in the quarterly statement, Deloitte said that there was, I think, ₹1 billion in cash, like some 500, 600, some 5,000 crores, so substantial sum of money was cash, which the auditor, Deloitte, could not verify. Right? It's the simplest thing for an auditor. When I was doing articles, how many of you here are chartered accountants? First year article clerk will go and count cash. That was the level of importance they give, right? So you don't even need to be a CA. You're studying to be a chartered accountant. You've just filed your paper with the institute today. Tomorrow, your company will say, go count cash. You open a box, there'll be lots of cash in it. Cash and cash equivalents, they're called, but ultimately it's liquid. FDs. Same issue with Satyam, right? The FD receipts were forged because the auditor did not verify them because it was all in Mr. Raju's office. He would show the certificate. Again, the bank statements in Satyam case, they were not being sent to the auditor. It was going to the company. The company would then give it to the auditor. So again, there's FD receipts. Bank of Baroda, New York had like some different balances. Even though Bank of Baroda was online, the auditor did not check. The balances were overstated. Same thing happened in Fortis. So when, again, coming to the Fortis story, they could not verify cash. They sent out confirmations. The confirmations never came. And the auditor said, I can't certify these financial statements. And there was a big, like you said, disclaimer, legitimate, saying that we cannot confirm. The company then said, oh, this is all sitting with the promoters. I said, excuse me, the promoters are not the company. Right? So we're talking here about Fortis, a listed company. Where is the cash? So they said, it's with the promoter, the Singh brothers. So they said, well, let the Singh brothers give a statement first. And did the board approve? Because the company has lent money to two shareholders, significant shareholders, who are also CEO and COO. The board then said, no, we never gave the money. Who gave the money? We never approved it. They can't locate cash. And there was a big disclaimer by Deloitte. And what did the company do and the board do? Despite this 2-page disclaimer and a detailed analysis of why Deloitte is unable to confirm cash, the company and the board believe in the integrity of the financial statements and they filed it with SEBI. And SEBI accepted it. I mean, it's just a travesty. You can't make this up. I think if it was in a Bollywood movie, you would say, it just can't happen in life. But it did. And it was at the same time when Fortis, the hospital, was being put up for sale. And there were several people bidding for it. SEBI then said, oh, you must do an investigation. And there was a private equity investor who was outside India who again said, you have to do an investigation. And then an investigation was done and it revealed that the cash was misappropriated. And then the board never gave the approval. Transactions, some came to the board and the board which then claimed they didn't know. Of course they knew because they had approved the transaction. Then they said, oh, it was item 89 on the agenda. Wow. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter if it's item 89 or item 8. You have to pay the same level of attention. If you can't, focus on an agenda item beyond 10, then you should have 10 board meetings because you have 100 items. You can't say it's item 89 on the agenda and then still approve.
I'll now go back to Arun.
Yes. I also like to disagree with some statement of presentation. The major seem to disagree with him also. But all the same, coming to another issue, okay, how do you find that things are going wrong in the organization? Okay, I talked about internal audit. Probably internal audit will not always reveal everything because there's a limitation of who the internal audit is and the quality of the internal audit. Okay. The second, which Mrs. Suresh said, is that it's all audit is all past history. You're looking at history. Partly true. But history also teaches you a lot of things. You can see the trend. When you know something is wrong, and over a period of time, some antenna goes up, and you see a pattern. Okay, that is the advantage of history. And this is what, as an audit committee member, you get a clear idea. Okay. Now coming to risk. Risk today is an integral part of audit. And what does the audit do? Any proposal coming in for any approval, if it is coming through the audit committee or even directly coming to the board, the audit committee chairman always asks, have you listed down the risk factors? Normally, a CEO or directly in the company wants to get approval for a large project. He lists all the fantastic returns he will get 5 years from now, 10 years from now, etc. But there will be nothing said about the risk factors. Okay? And who else is the competition? Like something will be there, but the risk factors are never talked about. So that is something which a risk committee can go into a whole lot of details. And today, when you talk about risk management, it's not one or two persons who are looking at risk. Okay? The way the risks are identified is a thorough process, starting from the ground level, every region, every department, it comes up. And what probably comes to the board is probably the top 10 risks or so at the board level that we look at. But one of the audit committee meetings, we do look at what the others are as well. And the indications are there because people who are actually doing things will know what the risks are, not a person like you sitting here on the board. So that's one part as far as risk is concerned. And risk is an integral part of audit. Nobody can say that we were looking only at the accounts and it is not there. Second is that how do you detect fraud? Okay. It's a subject by itself. A lot of us also depend on this whistleblower. Okay. Whistleblower Act is there. So you have to make sure that an anonymous letter, even if it's anonymous, obviously unsigned, or some fake name will be this. So we look at it. We don't immediately take action with that, but we keep it with us. And keep our eye open to see if there's a pattern somewhere here or there. And if a second or third similar thing comes from, or somebody whispers into your ear, some of the people down below, who have no direct access to the board, but they'll call her as a director at, but when you go to a shopping mall, you'll find somebody coming and talking, oh, you are directly, I'm working in this company, but I want to tell you something. I mean, this is how, because people can't fight against their own boss supervisors. I mean, they're thrown out of the job. So you keep your eyes and ears open all the time. So fraud detection, apart from many other things that you have for fraud detection, this is also, the whistleblower is also a very important person to do that. Yeah. So that's it. Sorry, I don't want to spend more of your time on that.
Yeah. You've been very attentive audit, but I'm sure at this stage I want to ask if any of you have any questions on any of the subjects that we discussed to any particular or the whole panel as it were. So please feel free to ask any question that you have. Anybody? Is there a question? Yes. Yes, please. I'll come to you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nagesh. I just have one simple question. Many a time when a director is being recruited, possibly the intent of the organization should be pretty clear, in the sense maybe many times it's just for the sake of legal fulfillment they may be recruiting, but otherwise to be open enough and be relieving the information. So that's more of a culture, I think. Many times it's becoming rather than just a legal thing. So how many organizations do we see today that have a culture of openness, to have a genuine concern towards the stakeholders?
I think
So that the question which was asked when I said, that first level of discussion with the CEO, actually that will reveal the culture itself. So when you want to look at the culture, best to speak to the CEO and to the peers, and you would know where the culture would be, not only the meeting, the whole culture with which somebody is going to handle your case. And again, as I said, he used the word voice inside the boardroom, and then the pattern in which the decision making is made. So you will get to know the culture.
yeah. And you can also do one thing. One of the things that we recommend is that if you are approached to become a director, don't sign up immediately. To talk to the chairman and say that I need to satisfy myself about a few things. So can I attend 2 of your board meetings as an observer? Of course, I won't be present when your talks will be confidential, But I would understand kind of both the timing and then get comfortable and then perhaps take it forward. Yes, the lady, please.
So this evening shows that there are many risks, and there are many risks in being on the board, and like what Vidya also said, that not everybody has all the skills to manage all those risks. I was just wondering, is it safe at the end of the meeting, whether it's an audit committee meeting or a risk committee or a CSR committee meeting, is it a good practice to basically say, is there anything else I should know? Ending it with that might sort of, I was just wondering, I wanted the opinion of the experts